Welcome to the Civic Hub. The Civic Hub is a shared community space for grassroots and small nonprofit organizations working to make lives better for everyone in Waterloo Region. Partner organizations come from a range of fields: environmental justice, democratic reform, arts and culture, anti-poverty, anti-racism, human rights, ethno-cultural and newcomer support, technology, peace and nonviolence, spirituality, and well-being. On the show, we welcome one of our partners to the Civic Hub. Today on Welcome to the Civic Hub, we have Martin de Groot and Cindy Ward from the Scheinder Creek Porch Party. Martin and Cindy, welcome to the Civic Hub.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about the Scheinder Creek Porch Party. Where is Scheinder Creek?
Well, Scheinder Creek is a pretty long creek, as we learned when we were naming it. So we are downtown Kitchener, but yes, Scheinder Creek stretches all the way down through Pioneer Park. But we are downtown Kitchener, so if you're familiar with Joseph Scheinder House on Queen Street, they participate as the oldest porch in the city. And then across from them is the community garden. And then in behind that community garden, tucked back in there, is the downtown Scheinder Creek neighborhood. So we're bordered by Benton Street, where it dead ends, the Iron Horse Trail and Scheinder Creek, and Peter Street.
That's a considerable area.
It's considerable. We do run 10 front porches where live musicians play on the porch.
That's odd. I've heard of porch parties where there's only one or two bands playing, so that's a considerable amount of organization involved, I would think.
A lot of organization. We're pretty proud. We really focus on local live music. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say about a third of our musicians come right from our neighborhood, but all from Waterloo Region. So I would be hard-pressed to see if there's any place in Ontario even that focuses so much on local musicians. We have over 25 bands playing.
Wow, that's a lot. How many houses are in that area?
The number of houses in the neighborhood itself is about 300 houses.
Okay, that's considerable too.
That's considerable, but we're kind of a little pocket of houses because it's a dead-end neighborhood. So we are bordered by the Scheinder Creek. And so there used to be through traffic, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So we enjoy the neighborhood. We don't get a lot of cars through there. So it's a really good environment to have people actually walking up and down the streets and watching musicians play live off porches.
Yeah. Do you have to get any sort of street blocking permits?
We don't actually close the streets. We used to in previous years. You do have to get a lot of signatures to do that type of street closure. But now we don't bother. We don't really get a lot of car traffic as it is. And people are really, really respectful. So you might get a group of people standing and watching a band play, and maybe a car will come around the corner and go, "Oh, people down there," and you can see them turn around and head out again.
I guess most people who are there live there or have some reason for being there, like coming to see the porch party.
Yeah, and we've been delivering flyers around the neighborhood, and it's our 10th anniversary. So the people of the neighborhood they know it's coming. They get all excited. A lot of them will put out a garage sale, or the kids put out lemonade or cookies, and we have hot dog vendors and stuff. So this is when everyone's dragging their lawn chairs out and inviting all their family to come to their house.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
It's wonderful. We look forward to it every year. And I'm singing a couple of songs this year as well.
Ooh,
this is my rock and roll debut.
Gotta get you on the radio to do that someday. So you said 10 years. This is your 10th anniversary?
10th anniversary, yes.
Started in 2014.
Well, 2015.
2015. Okay.
2015. So yeah, 10 years. And Scheinder House has been involved every year, so we consider them our headliner porch. Okay. But this year we're also, we have a park in our neighborhood, and so we're building a stage back there as well. Oh. And it's a great little park right next to the Scheinder Creek. So we have a park stage in there, and then we have an acoustic tent in there, and so that's sort of our big feature this year as well. Yeah.
So when is the porch party? When can we come out and see this stuff?
So it's this Saturday, September 21st, from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. So it starts right at 2, and you can park if you're, you can walk or ride your bike down the Iron Horse Trail. But if you're need to park, you can park at Cortland Public School, or Schneider House has parking across the street on Queen.
Cortland is a pretty big parking lot there. Cortland Public School has a
that's
lot of
a pretty good sized one. So that's a great space to park and drag out your lawn chairs.
So start there and then wander around.
Wander around. So you can go to our Facebook page, which is SC Porch Party. And we've got a neighborhood map showing where all the porches are. Also, we have a website. So just Google Schneider Creek Porch Party and our website should come up. So the porch map is there. And but if you just wander around, you're going to find the music. We've got some signs out, food this way.
Yeah. Any idea who's playing?
So we've got quite a roster this year. Sylvia D and the Boyfriend are playing on the main stage at Schneider House. And then Eric Jackson and the Willow River Band. And then Schneider House has an amphitheater in their backyard that they just built last year, which is kind of cool. So they're going to run music in their amphitheater as well. So we have 2 RPM playing from 3 to 4 back there. And since yesterday, a big classic rock cover band with fabulous musicians playing 3 to 4. Around the neighborhood, we have some stellar musicians. The joke is, we heart dad bands, but I mean mom bands too, right? But these are people that just love playing music, and boy, can they get you dancing. And so our park stage is featuring the Howlin' Cats at 2 p.m. and then Stop JoJo at 3:30 with our big finale of Clyde Junction, awesome fiddle band, rock and roll fiddle band from 5 to 6. And so then, other than that, just wander the neighborhood. Oh, and I should mention, we have a kitchen jam, which is really an open mic stage. So I've got a bunch of musicians that are going to come out and set up all the gear. But if you're wandering down the street with an accordion or a kazoo or a guitar and you want to sing a song, you drop on by 57 Bruder Ave.
And join right in.
And join right in, that's right.
So it's this Saturday, September 21st, 2024.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start planning for this?
We put out the call for musicians in April, so it's quite an organizing process. And we like to take every musician that signs up. Unfortunately, we just didn't have room for about a dozen of them, but we invite them out to the kitchen jam. But yeah, it's quite the process, and then we do social media for all the musicians, and got to get the insurance, got to get the permits. Yeah.
Is there a lot of involvement from the city of Kitchener?
They do offer. They have the tiered grant funding system, so they've been quite supportive of us through that process. And then we work closely with the Mill Cortland Community Center, which is under the City of Kitchener, and the Cedar Hills Neighborhood Association. And so they provide tables and chairs that we borrow from them, tents, things like that. Okay, so you're getting a lot of support there. Yeah.
And how does the Festival of Neighborhoods fit into this?
Well, the Festival of Neighborhoods is a wonderful organization. This year they're going to have a booth set up at the Porch Party.
They will.
And we're happy to support them in whatever way they want to engage the community. And we're just happy to have them spread their good word.
Yeah. Festival of Neighborhoods does a lot of stuff in other community areas, not necessarily for Porch Party so much, but for I guess smaller events. Does Schneider Creek neighborhood take advantage of any of those things?
Well, you see, the Schneider Creek neighborhood is a group of volunteers, and a lot has changed post-pandemic. So unfortunately, we're not hosting those annual barbecues like we used to, but that may start up again. And then we can reach out to the Festival of Neighborhoods at that time. For now, the big Porch Party is sort of our big neighborhood event, and we've put all our energies into that so far.
That's where the focus goes.
That's where it all goes.
Right. In the studio, we've also got Martin de Groot. How do you figure into this, Martin?
Well, I live in the Bread and Roses Co-op, Bread and Roses Cooperative Homes, in a historic site. It's, I think, the oldest industrial site that we still have in Kitchener. My apartment when I look out the window, people have been looking out that window since 1876, day after day after day. And that I have a history background, so that means something to me. And I've only lived there about 5 years, but since the very beginning, I've always wanted to do some connection with the Schneider Creek Porch Party. I've proposed it to the member engagement committee, and I thought maybe we could be a porch, because we're halfway between the Schneider house and the neighborhood.
And
right?
the neighborhood, yeah.
And since both were actually part of the route, but we have a peculiar position in terms of how the neighborhoods are divided, because according to the city, we're not part of Victoria Park neighborhood, and we're not part of Cedar Hill or Schneider Creek. We're part of the downtown neighborhood. And that's a peculiar entity. It's inactive right now, but I've always felt that all the people living there, and of course more and more every day because they build these towers, we're never going to be able to say this is our neighborhood, because we'll always be the commercial, civic, and cultural center of the region. So my thing is, why don't we encourage these people who live in these vertical towers, and I got that term from the Festival of Neighborhoods, it's an interesting concept, and encourage connections between the people who live in those towers and the people who live in actual neighborhoods, and all the things that they go on there, that kind of thing. Yeah. That was my theoretical notion. And so we thought, we'll just do something in conjunction. And a couple of neighbors have been sort of fantasizing about all the things we could do. We had some grand plans. We were going to have food trucks and a trunk sale out of a trunk. But it eventually boiled down to a very simple proposition. We're encouraging everyone in this area, because our building is connected to an entity called Clemens Lane. Okay. It's one of Kitchener's downtown, and nobody knows it. It's hidden, tucked in there behind the buildings. We kind of want to showcase the lane and make this our focal point. And around that lane, there are at least 9 of these vertical towers, ours being the smallest of them, because our tower is 7 stories. But there's all kinds of, there's the York building, which goes back to the 1930s. Yes. And then, of course, there's new ones coming up all the time. And it's such a variety. And we see these people every day walking their dogs and stuff, but there's nobody, as far as I know, nobody's ever tried to say, hey, let's just see what happens when we meet one another. So what we're doing is saying, let's all go down to the porch party from 2 till 6, and then when you're finished, come down to a meetup. Our meetup starts at 5 and runs to 7, 5 à 7. And it's based on my other project, the Sand Hills Parlor project, which I've been running for a year and a half now. And these are just open agenda talk circles. And we'll meet there, meet each other, talk openly, and plan for another event on November the 7th, where it's going to be kind of a show and tell talent show.
Okay. Unlikely to be a musical porch party, because it's difficult to do that in a vertical tower.
But we have the fellowship hall of this newly refurbished St. Matthew's Center. Oh. St. Matthew's Lutheran Church has gone really invested a lot in their facility to make it into a community event and gathering space.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and one of them is not the main assembly, but they have a fairly large chapel. We'll use that for our meet and greet. And it's partly, you borrow things from here and there, and Empty Space has this event called Tell that they do once a month. And I'm actually going to ask them if they'll be consultants and help us do a neighborhood Tell event where people just come, they say what they're up to, they share a story. For my building, I have someone who lives in my building who's a choral conductor and a music teacher, and we're going to form a little Bread and Roses choir just to practice the famous Bread and Roses song that goes back to labor unions and the suffragettes and all that. Yeah, it is a song, and it has this. I don't know what it is, but that's our contribution to the stage.
Right. Bringing the community back to the community.
That's exactly right. And actually imagining it where no one really, I don't think it has an identity whatsoever. Clemens Lane
Right.
and the area. But when you think about it, it can do that. And it's
Yes.
also an area that's going to undergo all sorts of changes and tensions, etc. I think it'd be good at this time that we come together, meet one another, and, basically
Yeah.
make it come alive.
Form a foundation,
Yeah.
especially something to hold on to as the neighborhood develops over the years. And I mean, social media is a wonderful thing, but there's nothing that beats, hundreds of people coming together and sharing their stories face to face.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely want to have that interaction between the people of the community, because otherwise it's not really community anymore, is it?
And the COVID was such a setback for all these things. All of us got out of the habit of going out. And that's partly why I started the parlor, because I've been sitting there at home for 4 years by
Yeah.
myself, because my job also disappeared because of COVID. And I thought, I just want to get out and I want to talk to some people.
Right.
And so basically it's an extension of that. Very personal, but also you really want to contribute to your community.
Yeah. So Cindy, has the Schneider Creek organization taken into account all these additional people from the vertical towers?
Well, this is something that Martin and I have talked about over the years, because I know that you've been excited about getting Bread and Roses involved, since you moved in there. And I do remember there was one year that maybe a musician or two played in by your front door. I don't remember because I didn't get over there that day. But we would love to include the vertical communities at some point. I mean, every building has a lobby. I mean, I know when I go or a rooftop. I know when I, used to visit my mom's long-term care facility, they always had concerts in their lobby. Like, why can't you do that and bring the music to those vertical communities as well, to get people downstairs talking with each other. Certainly an option, but we'll have to start in April next year.
A lot of these communities, these towers have community rooms as well. So
That's
they-
true.
activity
yeah.
areas.
That's true. There's a lot of possibilities. It's just something that we're going to have to start working on earlier in the year.
Well, we can start working on it because we meant this to be just a little seed. Let's start something and see what happens.
That's right.
And to do that, we have to scale down all the imaginings. We also imagine processions, because it's one thing to play as a band on a porch, but there's also people who move along,
Right.
like promenade and all that. I'd love to do that. That includes the laneway somehow, and that would definitely fit with the porch party. And it could all sort of, and we could enhance one another that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense. And I mean, music brings a community together as well.
It does.
So on the 21st, when you go out to the porch party, where do you go first, Martin?
I don't. Is Onion Honey playing this year?
Onion Honey is not playing this year, unfortunately. I know, they're fantastic.
They were a regular on my radio show because they did that Sunday. What was it called?
Oh, they did their Sunday church, yeah, and they did it
Yeah,
online.
that's
Banjo
it.
Church. Banjo
Church.
Banjo Church, that's
I used to do my
right.
radio show and I listened to that. I went to church regularly. It was the only church I've ever attended regularly. So that's where I would just wander in, and I like to be surprised. I like to get lost. I don't like to. So I would just immerse myself and see, what am I going to find? What am I going to encounter? And I expect surprises.
Well, I mean, from where you are at Bread and Roses, you can wander straight down Queen to Schneider House. And then across where the community garden is, that's Mitchell Street. And if you start wandering up Mitchell, there's a porch there with some musicians. And then, the ear's going to hear, further up the little pathway, you can head over to Benton Street. And it will just take you around the neighborhood.
Yeah. Not every place has a porch party, and certainly nothing to the degree that the Schneider Creek neighborhood has done it. What sort of things do you recommend to other neighborhoods that want to set something up?
Well, I do know that porch parties have been gaining in popularity over the years. The Honer Ave porch party sort of started it all. So they are 2 years older than us. So we're in their 12th year. And then the Avondale of Uptown Waterloo neighborhood has been running the Grand Porch Party for about 7 or 8 years. And then Galt and Cambridge started one as well. So it's really great to see porch parties develop. And you don't have to have a porch to run a porch party. It's nice that these older neighborhoods do. I mean, they are an ideal stage when you think about your average front porch. But you can do driveway parties. I know that they have this thing now called the International Play Music on Your Porch Day.
Oh, really?
And the city of Kitchener gets involved and they fund individual homes. So they reach out to all the community centers around the city and say, hey, reach out to your neighbors in your community and see if they want to be involved in this Play Music on Your Porch Day. And so I know I've seen those events happening around the city, and people are just playing in their driveways if you know, they're not really the architecture with the porch.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a 300 home neighborhood either, does it? It can just be the 5 or 6 houses that are on your local little crescent.
On your local little crescent. I know there's a new one that started a couple of years ago on Betzner Avenue. And so it was running up Betzner to Duke. And then each of those neighbors, which is interesting, were making some sort of little item to hand out. So one place would hand out freezies to the kids, and then the next house would hand out hot dogs, and then the next house would hand out little cheesecake pieces. So there's lots of ways to start something just in your own little neck of the woods with your own neighbors. Vertical neighbors potentially as well, right?
Yeah. There must be some cost associated with this. I mean, it can't be free to do the flyers and things like that. What are the expenses involved?
Well, I mean, they could be as big or as little as you want to go. That's, you know, and the challenge is yes, you do need printing. Maybe you need to rent stage equipment like we've done this year. I'm paying a sound guy for our main stage. We like to provide each and every musician with an honorarium as a thank you to coming out.
Good. Yeah.
And in my opinion, musicians never make enough money. You know, it's, you know, to be a musician and love music is such a challenge. But musicians just love it, you know, and we know it's a challenging life. If I could pay all of them $1,000, I would. And, you know, they're lucky to get, you know, cab fare and, you know, a slice of pizza. Yeah. But we do. We budget honorariums. And then, of course, you have to get insurance and, you know, you know, you're going to need bags of ice on that day. You're going to need to buy some pizzas, etc. So we usually run at about $4,500. Which really, we squeeze every last penny out of that. We wish we could have more.
And that's funded through the neighborhood?
Well, it's funded through the City of Kitchener grant.
Oh, okay.
We've often looked for business partnerships in the past. I know some porch parties don't want to form corporate connections that way. They'd like to run straight through community funding. We've tried, and we haven't found the right funding partner, so we just stick to our city grant.
Right. That's the Love My Hood?
It's a tier 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not really sure what a tier 2 is, but I fill out that paperwork and, and, you know, and I deal with a lovely lady at the city, and
it's wonderful that kind of funding is made available to.
Oh, if we wouldn't be able to operate without it.
Yeah, exactly. How many people are involved? How many volunteers do you have on board to make this happen?
Well, Martin, we were talking about this earlier. Volunteership seems to have been going down post-pandemic. I think people are stressed out about work and jobs and, you know, the gig economy, you know, fear for the future, that type of thing. So it's really hard to get people to come in on the organizing side of things. I could really use a hand with social media. But we have some wonderful neighbors that come out on the day of and help set up tents and drag the musical equipment around. So, you know, pick up the table. So, you know, I can't say enough about the neighbors. But it's a lot of people. And honestly, you know who I think are the biggest contributors are the musicians.
Yeah.
You know, and the people who invite all their friends and family and drag their lawn chairs down. But those musicians, there's something just amazing about people in the musical community.
You're going to get an influx from all the other neighborhoods just to hear the music.
We sure hope so. Yeah. You know, previous years we've seen 2,000 people roaming the streets. And it's a pretty decent-sized neighborhood, so, you know, We want to see that for our 10th anniversary this coming Saturday. That would give us a real feeling of, celebration.
Yeah. So remind us all, it's this Saturday.
This Saturday, September 21st, from 2 until 6, in the Schneider Creek neighborhood, where Benton Street and Peter Street dead end, and Joseph Schneider House.
Okay. And if people want to get some more information online, what can they do?
Google Schneider Creek, and it would come up our website, but there's also a Facebook page, SC Porch Party. All the information is there.
Okay. And so that's got contact information if people want to help volunteer.
It does. It has we have a contact sheet there that you can fill out and send. It would come to me. And we're also at schneidercreekmusic@gmail.com.
Okay. Get a hold of the Schneider Creek people there. And Martin, how about the vertical communities that you're setting up? How can people get a hold of you for that?
We've got no infrastructure, so I've been giving my own phone number and email address, and they're welcome. mdg131@gmail.com. If you have a question or you want to help out, anybody's welcome to contact me. There's a Facebook page that Home Range does, and we're also supported by a Tier 2 grant from the City of Kitchener.
Those Tier 2 grants get around.
Absolutely, it makes it all possible. And then also, this is giving back to the city. They're investing in this, and we're giving back to the city. What's investing it for?
And your meeting on Saturday?
Our meeting is from 5 to 7 in the newly refurbished St. Matthew's Center. The address is 54 Benton Street, and you enter from the parking lot on the Charles Street side of the building.
Okay, and that's right after the Schneider Creek Porch Party that everybody should go to first.
Absolutely.
Martin and Cindy, thank you so much for telling us all about the Schneider Creek Porch Party and future happenings in the vertical communities. And welcome to the Civic Hub.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
Welcome. You've been listening to Welcome to the Civic Hub, where we welcome community partners to the Civic Hub. The Civic Hub is online at civichubwr.org. You can reach the Civic Hub by email at civichub@waterlooregion.org. Welcome to the Civic Hub is produced at the studio of CKMS-FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. The show is sponsored by the Social Development Center of Waterloo Region. The executive producer is Alexander Petrovich. Ritika Sharmali is the producer and host. Technical production is by Anjali Sanderson, and I'm Bob Jonkman. Civic Hub is supported by the Region of Waterloo Upstream Fund, and the theme music is A Good Bass by Kumiku from the Free Music Archive, used under a CC0 license.